The story of Nachiketa in the Katha Upanishad is one of the most frequently told ancient legends from India in modern times. But for many, this story is remembered primarily for the courageous act of its young protagonist, Nachiketa, a 10-year-old boy who questions an act of his father on moral grounds and then travels to the world of the dead to meet Yama, the lord of death, in order to keep his father's words. Nachiketa's moral courage in speaking up and then bravely facing the consequences of his action, even at the risk of his own life, is intriguing. Let us explore the psychology of this courage. Before that, let us look at a brief summary of this story. Nachiketa, the son of Vajasravasa, becomes deeply upset when he sees his father giving away aged cattle as a charity. What is the use if they can no longer give birth to cows? He laments. He then confronts his father and sarcastically asks, "Father, to whom are you giving me away?" Vajasravasa does not respond. He is performing this charity as part of a special yajna which is called Vishwajit Yajna, or a fire sacrifice to win over the universe in the hope of securing a place in heaven after death. However, Nachiketa believes the karmic outcome of this charity would be a joyless world for his father instead of heaven. He repeats the question, but his father remains silent. Concerned for his father's future, Nachiketa asks the same question a third time, and this time an irritated Vajasravasa blurts out, "To Yama." Yama is the lord of death. Nachiketa realizes Vajasravasa did not mean what he said, as the words were spoken in anger. Still, once spoken out, his father's words could not be retracted. Determined to honor his father's words, Nachiketa decides to go to Yama. Upon reaching Yama's place, Nachiketa finds that the Lord of Death is not home. The boy waits for 3 days and 3 nights without food or water. When Yama returns, the sight of the fasting boy stirs his conscience, and to atone, he offers Nachiketa 3 boons. Ask for 3 wishes, 1 for each night you waited. He encourages the boy. For the first boon, Nachiketa asks that his father receive him lovingly when he returns home. Yama quickly grants this wish. For the second boon, Nachiketa seeks knowledge of a special yajna, a fire sacrifice that grants freedom from the fear of death and old age. Yama is pleased to grant this wish as well. Explaining the yajna and its special fire, he says, "Hidden in the secret cave of your heart, this heavenly flame is the foundation of infinite existence. The one who ignites it will no longer fear death, and leaving sorrow behind, rejoices in heaven." Yama then teaches the boy the steps to construct the platform brick by brick for the special yajna. Nachiketa listens attentively and repeats after Yama like a dedicated student. Impressed by Nachiketa's sincerity, Yama declares this fire shall be called Nachiketa fire henceforth. So far so good. However, for his third boon, when Nachiketa asks Yama to reveal the mystery of death and the soul, Yama hesitates. He then tries to distract Nachiketa by offering enticing gifts that no mortal would refuse. But Nachiketa remains steadfast in his resolve and dismisses the offers. He remains firmly focused on his wish. Finally, Yama concedes and starts explaining what happens when a person dies. Dear viewers, this part of the story, Yama's teachings on the mystery of death, is not discussed here, for it deserves a separate detailed discussion. Now let us examine the factors behind Nachiketa's moral courage, which constitute a multi-layered template for personal development, which is timeless. First, a brief analysis of the father-son duo. Vajasravasa gives away cows that are too old to benefit the recipients. In fact, these cows would be a burden due to the need for their care. His charity is self-serving, aimed at securing future rewards. There are always individuals like Vajasravasa in positions of power who prioritize personal gain over collective welfare. You may encounter such figures not only in government or bureaucracy, but also in institutions, organizations, communities, and even families. While individuals like Vajasravasa are common, people like Nachiketa are rare, which makes this story so significant. Now, the question is, why people like Nachiketa are so rare? There can be several reasons for this, varying from situation to situation. Some of them include, number one, fear of repercussions. According to Amy Edmondson's psychological safety theory, individuals' willingness to voice concerns is influenced by their perception of potential negative consequences. The fear of jeopardizing their livelihood, career, or personal security can prevent people from speaking out. Number two, conformity and social pressure. Humans are social creatures, and the pressure to conform, especially in groups and workplaces, can be powerful. If most remain silent, it becomes even more difficult for someone to speak up for fear of isolation or criticism. Number three, internalized power structures. Over time, people may internalize the belief that authority figures are always correct or that challenging authority is futile, which leads to passivity and a sense of helplessness. Yet, a few courageous souls like Nachiketa do stand up. Let us find why. Psychologist Lawrence Kohlberg's theory of moral development explains that individuals progress through stages of moral reasoning, from decisions based on self-interest to those rooted in universal ethical principles as they evolve. At their highest stages, individuals are driven by internal qualities such as moral courage, the strength to stand up for what is right, integrity and ethical awareness, which means a clear sense of right and wrong, empathy and compassion, the ability to understand and care for others, self-confidence, belief in one's own judgments, resilience, the ability to cope with setbacks, independent thinking, the capacity to challenge groupthink, and altruism, the willingness to prioritize others' well-being. Nachiketa clearly embodies all these traits. He clearly sees through the ethics of the so-called charity. He courageously questions his father's actions. He empathizes with the recipients of the charity. He is also sensitive towards the potential karmic consequences for his father, and he is convinced that his father's actions are wrong. His resilience shines when he accepts the consequences of his questioning, and his altruism evident in his concern for his father's post-death well-being, even at the risk of his own life. By cultivating these qualities, we too can ignite the Nachiketa fire within us and face life's challenges without fear. Thus, the Katha Upanishad offers not just a spiritual narrative, but a profound template for personal development. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.